In this video I'm going to be talking about some of the other methods that you might come across in a course or a book or let's say a DVD series or something like that. So there's quite a large variety of them, but I will categorise them into a couple of different groups. The first group is where they're trying to, in a way, convince you using some logical reasoning, and I'll put Alan Carr's way to quit smoking in that category, and I'll also put smoke enders to some extent, and there are quite a number of others. Now, essentially, what they're trying to do is convince you that all the things that you think of, the reasons why you think you're trapped and can't quit, are not true. So they're saying, well, these are the list of reasons why you think that you can't stop, and now let's have a look at those. And they look at each one and they basically debunk each and every one. And probably the best known one is Alan Carr's. But now that's all great. That's great, what I call background information. But when it comes to defining what the actual mental craving is, that doesn't happen. You'll find that, let's say, talking about Alan Carr, he defines the mental craving as a little monster in your head, or an uneasy feeling. Well, the uneasy feeling is actually the fight or flight reaction, which I can talk about another time, which we address fully. But the little monster in your head, that's just a personification or making a concept into like a little person. And it's certainly not accurate. The mental craving is not that. It is something very specific, and we completely define it. And when you define it, you can then see how a technique could be used to address that and make that craving literally disappear. Now, so there's the attempt to use logic. Now, as I said before, that has some effect in changing your belief about whether you can quit and frees you up a bit to take action. That's all great. But you need an actual method to get rid of the physical cravings and get rid of the mental cravings. Now, some other methods, let's say courses that you go through, often work on psychological generation of belief that you actually are empowered to do whatever it is that you want to achieve in your life. And certainly I believe that is true. And it gives you a huge amount of confidence that you can go and take action. Now often, what that's directed towards when it comes to quitting smoking is actually giving this huge motivation to go ahead and try some method and use willpower. Because that's what you end up having to use, and having this confidence that you can succeed by using willpower. Again, I would question that is not the best method. Why? It's great to have confidence, but using it in the wrong direction. You don't need to use willpower to quit smoking. And certainly we don't want to accept that the cravings are going to be there for the rest of your life where you have to use willpower. So that's not a good idea. What you really need to understand is how to stop cravings from even being generated, and none of these courses or books that I've come across and I've read extensively address this. Now, another common category of self-help education is using relaxation techniques, calming techniques to help you stop smoking. Now, that's a great skill to have, and I certainly encourage you to learn those things. But the thing is, the reason why that has some effect on quitting smoking is because it helps you from the fight or flight. Now, the fight or flight is that nervous, minor panic or irritability that occurs when you go to start quitting. Often that is very much tied up with needing to use willpower, and you get annoyed or frustrated with having to use willpower because it seems endless, and also you get this internal fear, this subconscious fear that if you don't smoke, it's going to be distressing, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So having these calming techniques really can help with that. But again, it's helping with one component. It's not addressing all the problems. Yes, you have to deal with the fight or flight, but you certainly don't want to just use those calming techniques in combination with willpower. It'd be nice to be able to use those calming techniques in combination with the technique that made the mental craving disappear. But guess what? Something even better. Once you use that mental technique that we teach, the fight or flight disappears because the subconscious no longer experiences or perceives danger. See, when the craving's there, the subconscious perceives danger. So it brings up this fear and this anxiety to make you try and take action. But when the craving's gone, all of that fight or flight disappears. So you don't need to use any special calming techniques. It's taken care of for you. So those are the three categories. There are others, but I will basically summarise and say that none of those methods has an understanding of all the problems, and therefore they do not address all of the problems at once without using willpower.